Before we start today's video, check out our merch shop, linked in the description down below. Use code ahsoka in all caps to get $7 off your order. May the force be with you, and enjoy the vid.
Hello there.
This is where the fun begins.
Now I found a movie about two things I love. So I'm going to see you very soon.
Unfortunate. I know it is. I honestly got pretty excited just rewatching that little bit of a sizzle reel there that we got a couple years ago officially from Disney or from Lucasfilm into the regards of a new potential Star Wars movie called Rogue Squadron, by which I wanted to make a video about because, well, not necessarily today, maybe a couple days ago on December 22nd of 2023, it was announced that Patty Jenkins' Rogue Squadron Star Wars movie would hit the theaters, ending the 5-year hiatus of Star Wars movies since Episode 9, The Rise of Skywalker. However, here we are on, at the time of recording and publishing this video, December 26th, Rogue Squadron isn't in theaters. No need to go check Fandango or your local movie theater. It's not there. And I just find it so unfortunate, and I think it puts a stake at my heart, honestly, at this point of just like, I'm tired of it. Especially for Star Wars movies. They just never seem to get off the ground, pun intended. They never seem to fly anywhere of where we actually see them materialize or come to fruition and actually become a Star Wars movie. And over the years, the Star Wars galaxy has only grown at this point, bringing a number of movies and television spin-offs to life. There's the good, the bad, the ugly, and everything in between. One of the most anticipated offshoots, though, however, in the recent memory, was the news of a movie, Star Wars Rogue Squadron. It just earned an unfortunate honor, though, however. The film, of which would have been helmed by Wonder Woman's talented Patty Jenkins, was originally scheduled to be released this weekend, December 22nd of this year, 2023. The movie was announced nearly 3 years ago, a part of Disney's Investors' Day in 2020, and it obviously hasn't come to pass, with the project not having started production at all after ongoing years of ups and downs and reports of that, oh, it's happening, oh, it's not happening, oh, it's happening, no, not happening. Rogue Squadron was first announced during the Disney Plus Day presentation in December of 2020, nearly 3-4 years ago at this point, hyping it up for the diehard fans, even if general audiences didn't know of its existence quite yet. The announcement was accompanied by a video of Patty Jenkins herself, as I had played at the beginning of this video, pitching her concept for the film. It sounded like something that would have been out of this world, quite literally, in a galaxy far, far away, which would, according to Lucasfilm, introduce a new generation of starfighter pilots as they earn their wings and risk their lives in a boundary-pushing, high-speed thrill ride and move to the saga in the future era of the galaxy. I think the best way to describe of what this Star Wars movie was going and what it was supposed to be, aside essentially from it being titled Rogue Squadron, very obviously based off of kind of an idea of what the games were from the early 2000s, but I think the idea of this movie would have been really sick, essentially as a Fast and Furious, but with spaceships and in space and in Star Wars. Rogue Squadron then entered a cycle of development issues and updates, and even as the director herself, Jenkins stepped down from the directing a Gal Gadot-led remake of Cleopatra. This Cleopatra movie of what Patty Jenkins was said to have making was going to be, I think it was going to be okay. It was going to be what was kind of replacing her current schedule of, instead of making Rogue Squadron and, coming to the Star Wars franchise, I said, okay, fine, makes sense, go do that project, have fun with it, make a killing on it, and let's go to a galaxy far, far away. Not only did she never make the Cleopatra movie, but she never actually did the Rogue Squadron movie, of course, as well, and later parted ways from Wonder Woman 3 amid creative differences. There still isn't a clear indication of not when or if necessarily, but how the film would have moved to the production stage. The project was then removed from Disney's release calendar in September of last year, 2022, of where it was essentially announced dead, and was reported to have cancelled altogether in March of this year, 2023. Yet, Lucasfilm President Kathleen Kennedy herself has hinted that we could conceivably still see Rogue Squadron someday. Somehow, maybe from a different director. Fingers crossed for it. Whether it be a movie or as a Disney Plus show, either way, it seems to be something that could still very well happen. But I really wouldn't hold your breath on it. Not from the idea of the Rogue Squadron movie happening, but I really felt that Patty Jenkins really sold herself in pitching this movie and being a part of this movie, being the writer, being the director of this movie. She herself has a lot of potential. Looking back at the Wonder Woman movies, I honestly really enjoyed those movies. Action-packed, great pacing, great writing, and to see that, those were some of the better DC movies, arguably. But this video and this channel is about Star Wars, so seeing of what she could have done over there in that franchise and being able to translate that into a galaxy far, far away, I think is something that could have been so cool. Rogue Squadron, that definitely is something that we still talk about. Kathleen Kennedy had explained in April of 2023 this year. Whether it's a movie or whether it ends up being the show, it's definitely something, Kathleen Kennedy says, as I had mentioned from earlier this year, as into the idea of that it's still a concept and still a working title even. Something that they do eventually want to do. Not if, but when, essentially. And so, this year all being said, when will be the next Star Wars movie? Earlier this year, Lucasfilm had officially announced 3 new films set within the Star Wars galaxy, beginning with the currently untitled film from Ms. Marvel director Sharmeen Obaid-Chinoy, which will see the return of Daisy Ridley as Rey, taking place 15 years after the events of The Rise of Skywalker. Also in the slate is a film from the legendary Dave Filoni, culminating much of the canon of the Star Wars TV shows, a part of the Mandoverse, essentially known as the Thrawn movie, and as well as a film from James Mangold about the origins of the very first Jedi and the creation of how to come to be the Jedi Order. I know, it's exciting, and it's exciting to hear about this stuff officially from Lucasfilm. They make it all so much up to be so cool and so fun and so exciting, and that's what it's supposed to be. But when you look at a project like Rogue Squadron and see that it just never happened, it had that same treatment. It had a bigger treatment than just simple announcements at a Star Wars celebration. It had a whole sizzle reel. They did footage for it. They did stuff for it. They did promoting and marketing for it. I mean, come on. To see that and to see it never actually happen, it just gives you false hope as to what they may do in the future with their movies specifically, and it makes me worried for the franchise's movies. Just a not if, but when kind of scenario, if they're actually going to go through with it, pretty much. Jon Favreau and I have our own little theater that we've been playing in, but Star Wars is a big galaxy. I think there's a lot of possibilities, but we do things our own way, Dave Filoni told comicbook.com earlier this year. I think of, A New Hope. It's an important moment in the timeline. The Death Star blows up. That changes everything. A cinematic moment for this time period has to be a moment that's changing things, and we understand it as the audience, and then it ripples down if we have other shows going on underneath that. So if there's a show taking place in A New Hope time period that you were watching as a kid, essentially, you would understand that things have changed in the show because the Death Star blew up, but they didn't necessarily need to be there. So there's a ton of possibilities for how to tell these stories in unique ways for Star Wars as well. Ending that quote right there. This by no means is a diss to Kathleen Kennedy or anybody else at Disney or at Lucasfilm, but I really do feel that Dave Filoni is our hope for when it comes to a Star Wars movie. Not an if, but when type of situation, if it's actually going to follow through and actually happen, especially seeing him recently being promoted at the company, being a part of the Chief Creative Officer position now. This year all being said, guys, let me know all of your thoughts and opinions in the comment section down below. I would love to hear what you guys are all thinking. What do you want to see with the future of the franchise, the movies, and everything else? Let me know what you guys are all thinking in the comments down below. Thanks so much for watching today's video. Of course, this has been an official Star Wars. I'll catch you guys in the next one. Have a great one. May the Force be with you as always. Peace out.